It is my pleasure to introduce Ashton Strong, PE and Deputy Director of Transportation Planning and Development at TxDOT Dallas District. Ashton is a graduate of Texas A&M University and has been working for the TxDOT Dallas District since 2009. She has worked in various offices and managed projects in design, construction, alternative delivery, as well as management of the project delivery office. Currently, Ashton serves as the Dallas District Deputy Director of Transportation Planning and Development, responsible for managing the district's employees engaged in project delivery, including schematics, PS&E, and plan review, as well as the management of the consultant contracts and budgets. Today, Ashton's presentation will be on the TxDOT Dallas, IH-30 Canyon, and major projects update. Let's welcome Ashton to present.
All right, good afternoon. There's a little bit of an echo, so I'm going to try to ignore that. Y'all can hear me okay? All right. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you guys today. I have a little bit about our TxDOT district structure, some of the major projects we've been working on, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about I-30 Canyon. Next slide. So just before we get going here, so we always like to do a safety minute at TxDOT. Safety is very important to us. So we are all about in the streak in Texas. So since November 7th, 2000, that was the last deathless day on our Texas roadways. So we always like to do a big push to make sure that people are really driving safely, thinking about everything they do. We want everyone to go home the same way that they came to work. So in everything that we do in our construction projects or our design projects, just being at the office, we want to think about safe and how we can get people home at the end of that day. Next slide. So there is one person coming to our North Texas region every 3.3 minutes. So if you can imagine, this region and the area that the Dallas district covers grows substantially by the minute. So we are wanting to make sure that we're managing all of our projects accordingly. We're getting those roads built up to handle that boost in population. Next slide. So in the Dallas district, we have 7 different counties that we manage here at the district. We have over 900 employees, and that accounts for 11,000 lane miles of state maintained highways. So that's a lot of work to do. And that's a lot of traveled roadways that we have to not only design and construct, but we also have to maintain. Next slide. So here's some of our structure here at the district. You may have seen this slide before. There's been a little bit of changes, and I'll tell about a little bit about it even as recent as the last week. So Season is our DE, and then we have our Jeff Bush is our deputy DE. And then down underneath, there are directors. For Travis is our TP&D director. We have our business services director, Joe Hunt, our director of construction. And then we recently have been filling the director of operations position. If you probably get the emails, that has been split up into 2 positions. So next time you see this slide, it'll be a little different. You'll see the director of operations and then our director of maintenance. We've split that duties up. We also have our area offices. And so our area engineers are the ones that handle all of the construction projects and the maintenance that's going on in our five different offices. Next slide. So here's all the different area offices we have. There will be a little bit of a change here in the coming months, but Amanda currently is our Denton County engineer. She will be our district operations director as well until we get that Denton County position filled. And then Nathan is our Dallas County area engineer. We have Juan for Ellis and Navarro, and then we have Jennifer as our Collin County AE. And then Lane Selman is our Rockwall. He is going to be our director of maintenance. So you'll see this slide change a little bit, but what's important on this slide is we are constructing over 4.5 billion of design bid build jobs. So those are those jobs that we do PS&E on, we let them to construction, and that they go under construction. So over 4.5 billion. So that's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work going on. And on top of that, we have 2.4 million of design build work under construction right now. So lots of stuff going on the roadways and lots of things for these area engineers to handle. Next slide. So this is the org chart for our TP&D organization. So Travis, and then you have myself, and then we have different supervisors within that. And so what's important here is we have a structure for all of the different sections and how they communicate. We want to make sure that everyone has a niche. We are working on filling the district utilities supervisor, so that is also a little vacant right now. And then we have our roadway design engineer. We handle advanced project development. We put environmental clearances under one section, and then we have a separate section for our schematics under Grace. We also have our PS&E group under CHIQ, and then our right-of-way group under Jenny. And then we have our ATP team, Miss Tamala, who knows where all of our money is and make sure that we can fund all the important jobs that we set out to deliver. And then we also have Rostam, who took over for Ray once Ray retired as the district bridge engineer. Next slide. So as I said, we've been working really hard, letting a lot of projects within our district. So in 23, we did 1.5 billion of lettings. In last year, we did 1.86, and this year is the year we're going to do 2.1. And so it's a big year for us. We're letting more than we have ever let. So we are wanting to make sure that those plans are reviewed and go out to construction, and hopefully we minimize as much as possible the change orders that are going to happen. So next slide. All right, so a little bit about some of the Dallas District projects that are under construction. Go to the next one. We have the Irving interchange, so that one is substantially complete today. So we have finished that one up. That was a very big project to finish up. So hopefully that one, if you were driving that corridor, you are now no longer looking at construction barrels in front of you. Next slide. We have the LBJ East project. That one's still under construction. So if you're driving down 635, you still have some construction underneath you, but we should be complete in later 25. We have the Skillman Bridge that gets built with that project. So everyone's been, watching that construction going. It's been very interesting to see that bridge go up. But lots of lane miles along 635 that are getting rebuilt, and we're very happy to see this one get finished soon. Next slide. We also have I-35E Phase 2 that's under construction up on the 35E corridor in Dallas County. That was a $709 million project. Construction is ongoing. We have a few more years on that one, but you'll see lots of construction going to rebuild the main lanes there, add capacity, and also rebuild those managed lanes there. Next slide. SM Wright Phase 2. Construction almost complete on this one. Most everything is almost done. This is down off 45 south of Dallas. And you'll see that it is almost done. It was about a $79 million project, a really cool project, and we're happy that this one is almost complete. Next slide. So some of our projects that are still in planning phase, so still in the phase before we go to construction, if you want to go to the next slide. So if you are a consultant working for TxDOT, you're probably working on the US 380 corridor. We have broken this project up into multiple segments, and we are delivering it in PS&E. So we have finished all the schematics on the 380 corridor. We split it up into 5 different schematics. All 5 are cleared right now. 2 were EISs. They were both cleared in 2023. We are acquiring right-of-way for the 380 corridor right now. And as I said, PS&E is ongoing. So we are in the thick of PS&E. We have 12 different segments. 2 segments are our in-house design at our TxDOT district office. And then those other 10 are split up into different contracts. So a lot of you working on that corridor, and we know that it is very important to us. So we are excited to see that one keep going. We did have one piece of the corridor let in December of 2024, and that was at the Spur 399 and SH5 interchange down on the bottom of the purple segment. So that one let in 2024, and then we're going to continue on and rebuild this new freeway and rebuild portions of the existing so that we can have manage that traffic that's going into the Collin County region. Next slide. So we also are working on I-30 East Corridor in Dallas County. So this is the segment that goes from Canyon all the way to 635. We're prioritizing a piece that goes from the canyon to Ferguson. This schematic is complete, and the environmental is almost cleared. So this one is a project that we've been working on for quite a while, but we are just in the planning phase right now. We started acquiring a little bit of right of way, but you'll see in here in a minute that we talk about the 345 project that might be leapfrogging this one in the delivery. Next slide. So our 345 project right now is we just held the public hearing. We held it in April. So we are working to get this project environmentally cleared in October. This one's a very important project. It goes from rebuilds the 30 interchange at 345 and then all the way up to spur 366. We are reconstructing, I think the next slide shows a section. We're reconstructing the existing bridges that are there today and building it in a trench. So rebuilding the main lanes below, making the cross streets continue over in order to improve the operations there, as well as replace those bridges, those aging bridges. I'm sure the next slide, I think we have a picture. Yeah. So here's just an image of what 345 can look like after we get finished with the project. So like I said, you'll see that 345 has been rebuilt below the cross streets, and the cross streets will now go over, which is a change from it is today. Today, everything is up on bridge. So this one, very important. We do need quite a bit of funding for this job. So we're working on getting it environmentally cleared and then trying to obtain funding. Next slide. And so now I'll talk about one of my projects. Is probably my second favorite project, not my favorite, but this is the Canyon project. So we're very excited to have gotten to the point we are today on this project. This project is from I-45 to I-35E, and it reconstructs the I-30 main lanes from 6 to 12 lanes and the frontage roads. So the lanes are there today, but they're in a CD system. And so it's not everybody who's sat in the canyon has sat there for a little bit. We need to improve it. But it's only about 1.6 miles. So it's a really beefy part of 30 that we need to rebuild. It let in February. So we had worked for a very long time to get it to letting, and it did let for $888 million. So quite a bit of a price tag for a little section of the freeway. So next slide. Okay, so just some history on the I-30 Canyon. So we originally studied Canyon in 2005 as Project Pegasus. So that was a larger corridor study that was done back in the day. After we completed the Horseshoe Project, we completed that project in 2015. We started looking at how we can break out portions of Project Pegasus and deliver I-30 Canyon, because we knew we weren't going to get all of the money for everything else. So we started working on that schematic. We approved the schematic and cleared it in December of 2020. We started that PS&E design overlapping a little bit at the end of, the schematic. And then we started acquiring a right-of-way. We finished right-of-way back in 23. Utilities started working as soon as we could get them to start working back in 21. And they are now clear to let to construction. And as I said, we completed design and we let it to construction in February. Construction, we do have, a construction delay on the project to allow for fabrication. So the construction, you won't see construction out probably till early 26 after we get all of those materials that are needed for construction. But as you can see, 20 years in the making, this job has been around a long time. So it did take quite a bit to get there, but we're very excited that it's here. Next slide. So just some of the I-30 Canyon per the bids, or the stats, as people like to say. We have over, over 1 million cubic yards of excavation. So lots of excavation to build out, dig out where the lanes need to go. It's already depressed today, but we still have to dig out more and haul off some of that dirt. We have over 300,000 square yards of concrete pavement. A lot of temp shoring. That was something that came up during the design. We needed a lot of shoring to account for maintaining those lanes during construction, having the deep cuts next to the roadway, and needing to shore up those walls. So lots of temporary shoring. A lot of drill shafts. We do have some beefy drill shafts we'll hear about in just a minute for accommodation for future deck parks. But lots of drill shaft for those cross street bridges, the abutments for the future deck caps. And then the big, the big impact to the stats is over 16 million pounds of structural steel. That is for the UPRR Railroad Bridge. We are needing to rebuild the UPRR bridge that goes over 30 today. And so in order to do that, we have to fabricate lots of steel for that railroad bridge. Next slide. All right, so one of the biggest things with the I-30 Canyon project is the railroad coordination we had to do on this job. It's one of the reasons why this job was a PS&E job and not a design build job. The escalated risk for railroads we needed to get that design done through the PS&E delivery. So we had the first one I'm going to talk about though is the DART bridge. We had 3 agreements that we needed to obtain with DART. One of them was for the inactive bridge removal. If you see the inactive line over 30, to remove that. And then for the new rail crossing. I have the rail crossing circled here in red. It's actually being built a little bit offline of the existing railroad crossing so that we can maintain the existing crossing during construction, build the new one, and then we just have to have the closures as we tie in. We met during the schematic phase, so definitely started that coordination as soon as we could. And then we also met monthly with DART to facilitate progress. We ended up getting the agreement executed in November of 24, so definitely in time for letting and definitely a big feat to get those agreements done. But we're excited. We will have a lot of coordination for the tie-ins and crossovers for when we construct that. Next slide. And so this slide shows where we have to rebuild the UPRR bridge. So right next to Hotel Street, right now today, the railroad bridge is one bridge with Hotel Street. So if you've driven under here, you've seen it. But we started this coordination in summer of 2019. So when I tell you in a minute here, when we got our agreement, that is over 5 years to talk with UP to get this agreement approved. So it was definitely one of the bigger parts of the job and the design that we had to get approved. We had to get both track and structural submittals through UPR to review and get them approved. We definitely met monthly with UPR to keep that progress going. It requires the construction and use of existing Hotel Street Bridge to facilitate the shoe fly. So what we do during construction is we're going to, you can't see it on the map, but Hotel Street is one bridge. So there's actually a bridge between the 2 new bridges. And we are going to rehab Hotel Street, get the shoe fly over there on Hotel, move all the track over there, and then build the new bridge. But if you can imagine, to do that, to scoot everybody over, we then have to tie in all of the railroad tracks. So over 1.5 miles length of track that we had to rebuild, for tying those structures in, and lots of track work going on there. On 12/19/2024, you'll see I know the exact date because that was a very important day that we got that railroad agreement done. I said it was a Christmas miracle. We were very happy that day when we finally got that signed. So we got it. We have been working with UP. Our area engineer is working very closely to get our construction right of entry. I think we are moving on the right track and ready to go to construction there. So next slide, I think, shows the railroad bridge. Yeah, so the railroad bridge length, you'll see how large it is. It's actually, it's wider to account for another future track if they want to and come in later. So we had to account for the entire future width. So it's over 150 feet, yeah, 156 feet. And then on the bottom is all the track. So the bridge area over 30 is on the blue part. And so the amount of track we have to do is all the red and it goes in and ties out in order to make this work for the the rail bridge. Next slide. Another big piece of coordinating this project was the local government coordination. So we do include structural accommodations for the future deck caps. We coordinated those with City of Dallas. We have executed AFAs for those. TxDOT and state funds can't be used to fund deck accommodations. So the city or local funding had to approve those. We only include the structural substructure work, sorry, for the wall accommodation. So if you've driven on 35E and you've seen Southern Gateway's deck, we actually constructed that cap with that project. This project will only construct the walls. So the cap will be something that comes in later. But we were able to get the accommodations in the walls now so that we wouldn't have to rebuild any of those walls later when the city wanted to have a future park. So we have 84-inch shafts in those walls to accommodate the future loading. And we did lots of coordination with NCT COG in the city and the stakeholders in order to incorporate those into the design. Next slide. So here's a picture of where the caps are going. So we have two different areas. I-30 at Lamar. This is near the convention center. So we widen out on each side of Lamar about 100 feet, 160 feet each way to accommodate for a deck cap there. And then down in Heritage Village between Irvay and Harwood, we have three different deck cap areas where we've, like I said, beefed up those abutment walls. So that yellow and the red line is where we've beefed up to accommodate for that future deck cap. Next slide. So another really exciting thing that the contractor gets to work with on this project is joint bid utility work. So in working with Dallas Water Utilities ahead of the project design and letting, just due to the nature of the size of the relocations and the scope of what the project and relocations would need, we decided to incorporate it and allow for it to be constructed via the construction project as a joint bid work. So we have a 60-inch water line relocation at Lamar. We have a 36 water line at Caesar, and then as well, lots of different just minor utility relocations that have to take place for water and wastewater lines. So the contractor will be doing this as part of the construction in order to make sure those lines can get relocated. Next slide. As you can imagine, 30 is a very highly traveled corridor. It has only 240 vehicles just for today's year in the traffic. So we must keep the traffic moving during our traffic control phasing. So we had to maintain the existing 5 main lanes throughout construction and throughout those construction phases in order to make sure that we were trying to limit that impact to traffic. So required strategic phasing of the overhead cross street bridges as well. Wanted to make sure that if one was closed, we could keep the one next to it open while, hoping that everybody would have a detour route. We had provisions for keeping some of them phased. Like Griffin is a very highly traveled roadway. We have that one phased. And we coordinated with city staff on those things during design. Another thing that was important when we looked at traffic control was the deep install of the drainage structures. We have lots of shoring and lots of structures that have to be dug down very, very deep. And so those had to be accounted for in our traffic control plans. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to build them with the traffic still next to them. Next slide. So some of our lessons learned so far, we know we're going to learn many more as we go and as the fun part starts during construction. But for some of the design, biggest thing about this size of a project, we need a good communication plan with our consultant partners and redundancy. We held weekly meetings on Monday morning. We started our week off talking about Canyon, so it was a really exciting time, but it really helped us. It helped us know what we needed to complete for the week and then what was due maybe towards the end of the month. So we did that with Canyon. Railroad coordination, can't say it, start it the second there's a railroad involved. The only thing we could control about that railroad schedule was the time that the submittals were in our court. So we really worked hard to try to turn those around as quick as possible. But it's a balance. We have to make sure that when we turn that back into the railroad, it was complete. Our answers and our responses were accurate so that we didn't get it rejected again. So really, really focusing on the railroad on a project like this And if you had a similar bridge would be a very important part. Um, Setting realistic expectations with stakeholders. If you look how long this job took, it took from 2000 to 2025. So it's a long time. And it's a large project. So it's not going to get done tomorrow. So we needed to make sure that everyone understand, you know, what's going to happen and when construction is going to start and everything that's going to happen. It's not going to be, you're going to see the roadway built tomorrow. So really wanted to set the stage. Um, a major project like this gets a lot of eyeballs. People start asking, "Hey, can I have that? Can you do that with the project? Can you incorporate this with the project?" Not just cities, developers, consult everything. You know, it's a big project. So, well, you can also do this. Need to meet early on and be honest about what TxDOT can or can't do. You know, with the debt caps, we couldn't fund them, but we could show them where things could be incorporated into the design. We could explain to them how much that might be, and then let them bring to the table that funding. So being mindful of, we can't fund it, but we can help you accommodate it. And get those agreements in place and funds deposited early in time for letting. Um, Last item we had on the list was reviewing the project estimate regularly. This project was heavily impacted by inflation. Some people might know what the estimate started at and what it is now. It's not the same, but we had a lot of inflation over these last years. We also had over $33 million in force account that had to be funded at letting. I think I estimated about 18 when I was estimating, and then it turned out to be 33. So really needing to know what the railroad needs in their force account for something like this is very important. And then having that contingency in place for how we're going to fund those overages. Obviously, if you have a project this size and you take it this whole way, you're definitely gonna let it. So you want to have a contingency in place for how you fund those if there are overages on the job. So I think that is it. I think my last slide is just a picture. You can try to spot my two kids in this picture, but they are there. But that is all I had today. And then are we opening any questions? Or are we good? Questions?
Given where this is located within Dallas, has there been any consideration on the engineering side to try to discourage the homeless population from setting up encampments below this? Because this is going to be really nice and pretty when we're done with it, and it's going to be really the heart of the city. Kind of, it'd be a shame to get it all messed up afterwards.
Gotcha. So we work very closely with the city of Dallas on those type of things and how to prohibit those things. Um, Canyon, we have vertical abutments to try to help that. We've been working with the city on what we can do to deter that, but that is something we work very closely with the city of Dallas on. And whenever there's concerns, we bring that to, they have a chairperson and actually an office that handles that. So we work very closely with them, not just for this project, but for all of our projects within Dallas. Oh, hi, Lee.
It's many years in the works to
It
get
is.
to this point, and congratulations for getting it let. We work together on some of the design build projects. On those projects, there's opportunity for the contractor to look at traffic control. I was wondering, this is being design bid build. It's been let to Bob for Beatty, and have they reviewed the plans and set their
Sure hope so.
yeah, said there's some like different traffic control ideas, or
Not
is
yet.
there any mechanism for them to, in the contract, to allow them to be a little
Sure.
creative?
That's a good question. So they haven't asked anything yet. They're more focused right now on the railroad stuff, which is good. But we do have a mechanism. We have that happen on a lot of our jobs. They can work with the area engineer. They can talk about, hey, this is phased a certain way. We think we could do it faster if we phased it this way. That area engineer will review, talk with our director of construction, see if that's a worthwhile change to the traffic control. So there's always that mechanism available on, TxDOT projects, and we expect there could be some discussions just because the amount of phases for this type of job. So that's a good question. He's got two.
I get two questions.
Yeah.
So you talked about the beefed up walls for future duck parks. How is that looking? Do you have any coordination, or do you have any idea of where that's coming along and who's going to fund that?
Fund the next phase.
Yes, the duck
Gotcha.
park. Is it all cities? Tech's not going to help? County? I mean, private
Right.
developer?
Okay, so TxDOT can't fund any part of the capping. So we can't fund the design or the accommodations or the actual capping. And so all of that funding comes from local partners. And so right now they have funded the structures for the walls. And so we work with the city when they develop, they want to, either bring a design firm on to work on the next phase, the capping phase. But they do need to fund that, either local partners or through that. Our agreement would be with the city through those.
Depressing a multi-lane freeway with all the utilities and all this, that's a lot of trouble and a lot of expense. Did anybody consider putting the deck up in the air?
Putting the roadway up in the air?
Oh, no, you have the roadway at the surface, and you put the deck park up in the air. It'd be a whole lot less trouble and less work to support a park up in the air than a multi-lane freeway.
So the freeway is actually underneath. So
Yeah.
the freeway is going to be underneath, and the park, if they cap it, will be on top. It would probably be cheaper also to build something off the freeway.
Yeah.
But but this is something that was very important to city and cog, and we've seen it being very successful in other areas. We have Clyde Warren Park that's been very successful. We have 35V that is under construction now. So it'll open soon. So it's something that's very important to the locals, and as long as we can accommodate it and they can provide the funding, it's something that we allow. But it's not cheap.
This is kind of a follow-on question to Elaine's question here. With this project being a design bid build, are there any ways for TxDOT to allow the contractor to kind of provide some VEs, value engineering propositions? And is there a way for TxDOT to encourage these VEs by doing potentially like a cost savings for contractor and TxDOT if some of these VEs are approved?
So we do an overall VE study, at the during the design phase. And so we did do that for the project. Something that's unique about this project is we cannot phase construct it. A lot of times we like to break up these jobs into smaller pieces. And this is just not one we could, based on the shortness of, what we needed to complete, we couldn't break it up. But there's always that opportunity if a contractor says, hey, this is something that brings value if we do it differently. There's that opportunity. It's a change order. It would work through our area engineer. But our area engineers are always, mindful and wanting to hear those things. But for right now, I'd say the contractor is going to go into it with those plans, and if there's something they want to change, they have to work with our engineer on a change order.
Are there follow-on questions? Are there incentives for the contractor to go after some of these VEs if there are cost savings to them as well as TxDOT's?
I wouldn't say really incentive. I mean, there's always an incentive if they think, like for the traffic control, if they think they can build something faster, that's an incentive for both TxDOT and, the contractor. But, we've because of the nature of this, we've given them a plan set. This is the plan set they have to build, and anything that they want to change, it has to go through the proper approvals, and it needs to still meet the intent of what we're trying to build. So.